Welcome to Katie's Insight, where it's cold today, so I'm in a nice, snuggly, pink, warm hoodie. I love it. It's fleece. I was just like, you know what? Screw it, y'all. I'm gonna have to let this picture not do me justice on what's really going on. I'm just too cold. I turned up the heat, but today is super cold, so oh my gosh, something else. Check these out. I've been fuzzy slippers too. I don't care. Let's just get comfy and talk about some stuff because I have weird, y'all, stimulus news. So this is something I've been kind of seeing for a little bit that I've noticed has been picking up steam over the last few days and over this last week. And honestly, I think it's kind of weird. This is what sucks about being in the middle. I can see both points of view. Then I have the viewpoint of somebody who also has chronic illness issues. So I kind of get the best or maybe worst of all worlds or both. But we have John Delaney. Now, John Delaney is a congressman who is coming out and saying that we should be giving people a $1,500 stimulus, but not just a $1,500 stimulus. They can get it with a catch. They got to get the vaccine or a vaccine to get the stimulus for the virus. I have many thoughts on this, but I want to ask you guys first, what do you think? Like, does that sound weird to y'all? It sounds weird to me, but he seems to be on a charge with this. He's got Andrew Yang involved. This is picking up traction and picking up steam. I got a lot of opinions on this, and I'm going to dive into this. But before we do, guys, I want you to know we're giving away a $100 gift card. Really simple. This is all you have to do to be eligible to win. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom. You're entered, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do this for every video, guys. And the more comments you leave, the more chances you have of winning. You leave 100 comments, 100 times more chance that you are going to get a gift card. Yay, good luck. Also, guys, I'm announcing winners today. I've had issues with my uploading schedule on YouTube, so I said I'd announce on Monday, so I'm announcing 2 winners today. So stay tuned. 2 people are going to win gift cards, and I hope that that's you. So make sure and watch the videos from front to back to see if you have won. Also, guys, on Facebook, like the page Katie's Insight, join the group. Katie's Corner will be changed to Katie's Insight. We're in there, and we're helping you guys on a more one-on-one basis find stimulus money in your area. It's all free. We're all just trying to help each other. Nobody's trying to sell you anything. We just don't want to starve. So let's get into this right now. This is from the Washington Post. This is an opinion piece, and it says, Pay Americans to Take a Virus Vaccination by John K. Delaney. Now, if you don't know who this is, let me give you a little oversight into who this guy is. So his name is John Kevin Delaney. He's an American attorney, businessman, politician, and a former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate who was the United States representative for Maryland's 6th Congressional District from 2013 to 2019. So it looks like he tried to go up, and he was trying to go up against Trump. And obviously he won. I think he was one of the first to drop out, but he was one of the first to say that's what he wanted to do. More power to him. So let's see what he has to say. I'm curious if this has any merit. It says, John K. Delaney, a candidate for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, served as a congressman from Maryland from 2013 to 19. I don't know. If he was in Maryland doing work, I kind of question, because they let Maryland just go to HELL in a handbasket. But let's listen. It says, It is clear that soon multiple virus vaccines will be ready for distribution. That's good news. More approved vaccines means more vaccine doses will be more readily available. The bad news is the vaccines don't stop pandemics. Vaccinations do. Now comes the hard work of vaccine distribution and, most importantly, ensuring that Americans get vaccinated. Some Americans are scared of vaccinations in general, and some are scared of this one in particular because of how politicized the fight against the virus has become. Remember, this is an opinion piece from him, guys. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, fewer than half of Americans get the annual flu shot, even though the flu shot is inexpensive and often free, widely available, and requires just a single dose. A recent poll shows that only 58% of Americans are willing to get the virus vaccine as soon as possible. That's down from 69% who said they were willing this summer. Worse still, Rob Jekielek? I have no idea. Jekielek. Jekielek of Harris poll told Stat, there's a historical level of distrust regarding a virus vaccine among communities that have been hit hardest by the pandemic. Well, I'm going to go, here's the thing. First of all, I am not I am not anti with this subject. I am somebody where I can't take vaccines because they hurt my system. but I have a very messed up health system that's not like everybody else's. But then again, I also think the majority of us are running around with chronic stuff that didn't exist or wasn't exist in the same capacity, in the same amount 50 or 100 years ago. Granted, back then, we didn't have really, good sanitation. We didn't have a lot of good things in society or health, so people didn't live that long either. I can argue both sides. But I do want to say, I think I have some insight into why people aren't as willing to want to get, I hate even saying the word vaccine because I don't know what YouTube is going to do. So understand, I'm not telling you what to do on this situation. I will tell you I'm somebody that can't because my health won't do it. The last time I got a vaccination for the flu that year, I had never been sicker with the flu, and I learned it was because my immune system doesn't work properly to be able to do that. So it just suppresses me. A lot of people get concerned about these situations because of what can be included in vaccines, please infer. There are things that shouldn't be in there, like fetal cells, right? That might have happened from forced expulsions. So there's a lot of heavy metals that really shouldn't be in. There's a lot of stuff that is not good. However, I'm not saying I'm anti. And the reason I'm not saying I'm anti is because I'm not a scientist, but I can understand the science behind it, right? But my thing is, can we clean them up? Can we just not have crap formaldehyde and horrible things in there? How about that? I think that's one reason people don't trust this stuff. And of course, there's always the blank theories. There's always the wild stuff that's out there that we know of. But let's be real. There's a lot of stuff in this that shouldn't be in there. In fact, in all of our food, our water, our ground at this point, our air supply, that's just what we've done to this country, unfortunately. That is one of the downfalls of the capitalistic society in America. Even though I am pro-capitalism, you got to have rules and regulations. I feel like you got to have a mix of capitalism and socialistic programs to make things work correctly and keep all those things in check. Because that's the thing. I don't think the concepts necessarily are horrible. It's that everything goes out of balance. Anything you do out of balance is not going to be good, right? But in looking at this, the reason I think so many people decided against it is also, I think people are angry. They can't feed themselves and buy their medications. So why should they trust anything the government has to say or give them? The other part is, I think we've all seen, I want to say this lightly, there are things about this situation with the virus that don't make sense. Some numbers are not adding up. Some facts are not adding up. Some Democratic politicians act like the virus only affects certain people in very hypocritical ways. We can all go cheer in the streets for 12 hours when Biden gets elected with no masks and it's fine, but we can't go vote. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of people are kind of fatigued with it and just fed up. By the way, I'm not saying the virus isn't real. The virus is very real and we should all take precaution. Okay, so I'm not one of those people. I'm saying I think people are fatigued by this situation. And I think that people are distrustful of the government, knowing where the government has led us down to and what path. So I'll continue. Such a widespread aversion to the virus vaccine could risk a lamentable squandering of one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of medical. What is going on with my mouth? Medical is not a hard word. The history of medical technology and vaccine development. Many thousands of Americans would perish unnecessarily. The solution is simple. Pay people to take a virus vaccine. The vaccines are likely to arrive at the same moment Washington is, belatedly, taking up much-needed stimulus legislation. The timing couldn't be better. Money would go into Americans' pockets just when the U.S. economy can begin fully reopening with a vaccinated population that can go about their daily lives without fear of catching the disease or infecting others. I have a lot to say on this, and I got to be real careful how I say this. First of all, once again, we completely exclude the sick, the disabled, the elderly, the chronically ill from this, because many of those people are like me. They cannot take these vaccines, so they just don't get to get that stimulus, do they? Or worse, they say, I need the money, I'm desperate, I gotta eat, so which one is it? Which of the two evils, which of the perishings do I do? And they go with this and possibly hurt or cross over from this. I hate that I have to be so careful how I word things, guys. It's so annoying. But again, it's YouTube, and I get why YouTube is sensitive to an extent, but it's like, I wish these bots understood context, So this, to me, would discriminate against a lot of different people who are the most vulnerable. But then again, that's all we do in this society. And in fact, even with this virus, we discriminate against the sick and the elderly, the disabled. It makes me very, and you guys know, watching my videos, I speak from experience on this, being somebody that I cannot wear a mask, not because I'm here to assert my rights. And if that's what you want to do, that's your choice. It's America. You can do that. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that is not the time, place, or situation where I decide to assert my rights there. I think there are other areas that to me are more important. It's that I literally physically can't. But are there that many programs to help people like me then be able to get what they need in society? No. They're not. Especially for somebody like me, I should be on disability, but I'm not. Number one, it took way too long. I had mystery illness. We didn't know what was wrong. And number two, when I figured out what was wrong, wouldn't get that much money anyway. So I don't have a choice. And with not having family or friend help, I don't have a choice but to do everything alternative I can to make myself better. So I feel like this, once again, leaves out the population y'all say that you get the vaccines to protect. That part bothers me. It's always going to bother me. So, and then it says money would go to the Americans' pockets. The U.S. economy began to fully reopen with the vaccine population that can go out their daily lives without fear of catching it. The other thing is there's information coming out. We haven't had time to really look at these vaccines, which is never a good situation for people, to just be able to blindly go into something for your health and science and not really have those long-term studies. And look, I'm not trying to argue it. I get why we don't. This is a timing issue. This is timing sensitive. But there's a lot of stuff saying we don't know the long-term effects. And that information is coming out and it gets people concerned. So we're going to bribe them with some money so they can get food and medicine so they don't get sick, but maybe something will make them sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get both sides of this. To that end, the federal government should pay every American $1,500 to get vaccinated. Send proof of vaccination, receive a $1,500 check or money via direct deposit. I think there's a lot of people that's going to be forging a lot of stuff. Good Lord. I don't know. I feel like, this would be right for people taking advantage. I do. Such an incentive might be the most effective way to persuade people to overcome suspicion or even fear of the vaccine, like so much else about the pandemic, because politicized during an election year. Well, people are suspicious because our government officials constantly lie to us and they put horrible things in their food and water. And we all know that. The things they've done to minorities medically over the years that they've kept in secret. We know what they do. It's not because, this year, it's not because Orange Man bad that people don't trust. I mean, maybe some people do and that's fine. You do whatever you want, right? But that's not why. There's a lot of people like me who are level-headed, who try to look at and weigh the information and look at it critically, and we're like, this is what's going on. As Paul Offit, an attending physician in the Division of Infectious Disease at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, testified before the House Energy and Commerce Committee in September, just as the Trump administration had politicized mask wearing and social distancing rules, so had rhetoric about the race to develop a vaccine made many people worry that safety measures weren't being followed. Many Americans were understandably skittish about the vaccines, Offit said, yet they can take comfort in the fact that many people in supervisory positions, as well as a cadre of independent academic scientists stand behind them, are monitoring this process and looking out for the public's best interest. Well, I get it, Orange Man bad, but at the same time, he's the reason we have the vaccines so quickly. He's the one that rushed them. He took different things to help his situation and is trying to get cures out to people. So again, but he's so bad, right? I'm not even pro-Trump. Again, pro-common sense. Other public health officials have offered similar reassurances, but skittishness among such the public appears slow to subside. That could be disastrous. An infectious disease expert, Anthony S. Fauci, has noted at least 75% of the population will need to be vaccinated for the country to return to normal. That level of vaccination will provide protection for the population at large, including those who are unable to take the vaccinations for medical reasons. I hope so. And they better make some really good allowances for people like me, because I'm just so used to going to a hospital and praying that I actually have people that are going to listen to me and not treat me like crap and not treat me like there's nothing wrong with me. Because when I go into places, guys, like if I have to go into an ER for my issues, I have to instruct them how to help me. They don't understand my issues. And it's not that I'm super mad at them because it's an ER. I get it. They can't understand everything specialized, right? I get that. I'm just saying these are not safe situations for the chronically ill, for people like me, especially when we have to go back there by ourselves and I can't have a healthcare advocate or somebody speak for me when I can't, and I need them to instruct them what to do. And for me, it's simple stuff. Like if I were to have a POTS and dysautonomia flare up, like especially if I get dehydration issues, I get issues with my water retention and things, I need them to give me a saline IV. I need to get antihistamine, and there are certain things don't give me because that will backfire. So I have to kind of instruct them. It's nothing crazy, but it's stuff that all I need help with. So they say cash payments would function as a double stimulus. They would provide relief to struggling Americans as the stimulus earlier this year did, but they would also accelerate the reopening of the economy. That's worth the cost. The key variable that has been missing from the stimulus debate in Washington has been not money, but time. Time really matters. The sooner the Americans get relief, the better. The sooner the federal government can reduce spending on enhanced unemployment insurance, on the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, and on state and local aid, the better. And the sooner the federal government can start getting revenue from income taxes for people who are back to work and for businesses that are reopening at a full capacity, the better. So despite the price of approximately $383 billion, if every American adult over 18 took advantage of the program, this would be fiscally responsible thing to do, in addition to its being life-saving for both public health. Would $1,500 encourage more people to get vaccinated? It turns out there's evidence that financial incentives do increase vaccination rates. A study in India found that giving lentils at each vaccination and a set of plates during the final vaccination increased the vaccination completion rate by a factor of 6. I'm sorry, y'all. I just don't trust this the more I hear about this. In my life, I have found many examples of people underestimating the power of incentives, but rarely any examples of people overestimating them. Incentive works. Let's use them. So now, guys, he has been screaming all over his Twitter about this. I want to pull up some of the tweets because I do find them a little interesting. So he's been going on and on. Let's listen. So he says the hashtag vaccine stimulus may be the most impactful thing we can do to save our lives in 2021. By paying people a $1,500 stimulus check to take back vaccine. Take the vaccine. What is wrong with my mouth? Medical vaccine. We will likely accelerate getting 75% of the population affected by 3 months, ending the virus sooner and saving 50 to 100,000 lives. How many other people are you going to make sick, though, because you don't know the long-term effects? John Delaney on CNN this morning talking about the need to pay Americans a stimulus check to take the vaccine. It is the fastest way to get 75% of the country vaccinated and will save thousands of lives. Retweet if you agree with my plan to provide a vaccine stimulus. And so far, he did this November 28th. It's now November 30th. It's only 65 retweets. Oh, honey. He says, today I'm thankful for my wonderful family and friends. I'm thankful to all our healthcare workers and so many others who show up and do their jobs each day with the virus. And I'm thankful our scientists have created 3 vaccines that will end the pandemic. Then I guess people are picking this up. So he's been screenshotting where people are talking about this and giving this momentum. He says, paying people $1,500 to take the vaccine, as I proposed with the vaccine stimulus, will result in 75% of Americans vaccinated, the threshold needed to end the virus months sooner. This will save lives and end the virus nightmare. It will easily pay for itself. Now, here's a few more. So he's retweeting his own stuff. He says, some also refer to it as the conditional cash transfer. This says, there's significant body of well-researched evidence and what is going on with my mouth? I'm so sorry. There's a significant body of well-researched evidence in an academic area called contingent cash payments that supports the view the incentive, cash or goods, encourages people to be immunized. The data therefore suggests it will encourage, not discourage the vaccine. Here's another one. It says there's a significant body. Actually, he's just literally repeating himself here. Oh, he doesn't really have much of an audience, poor guy. And then Andrew Yang says he's on board. Says, thanks, Andrew Yang. Your endorsement will be very helpful to this idea getting momentum. As you know, the sooner we get the 75% of Americans vaccinated, the sooner we will have the pandemic over and save lives. The vaccine stimulus will accelerate that. Plus, Americans need a stimulus check. I think we can all agree with that. So now, guys, I want to take you over to an interview that he did where he goes a little more into detail about some of this and some of his plans, and we can hear what he has to say. Let's take a listen.
Cause 2 crises in America at once, the health one as well as the economic. My next guest has offered up a solution to connect and perhaps solve both. In an essay in the Washington Post, former Maryland Congressman John Delaney, who also ran for president this cycle, writes, "Pay Americans to take a coronavirus vaccine." He joins me now. Okay, Congressman, make the case.
So the case is very straightforward, Michael. The most important thing for us to do at this moment in time is to get 75% of the American people vaccinated with the 3 and soon to probably be 4 or 5 vaccines that will be available starting the end of this year, early next year. And right now, only about 58% of the American people say they will take the vaccine. So what I think we need to do is create an incentive to get that number up to 75% as quickly as possible. That will save lives. That will get our economy back much sooner. And the way to do that is to tie it to a stimulus plan where we give the American people $1,500, which they should have had already if we had done a relief bill, and if they take the vaccine. So it's a very straightforward approach.
Some will say, why reward the irresponsible among us?
That's kind of an ideological response, and this is a practical solution, right? This pandemic, the tragedy of this pandemic, more than 250,000 Americans have lost their lives, over 1,000 a day. They estimate that half of the small businesses in this country won't open up again or reopen. The depths of this tragedy are extraordinary. So what we need is practical solutions to get this behind us and end this pandemic. And the vaccines will do it, but the existence of vaccines actually doesn't do it. What does it is people actually being vaccinated. And this solution is designed to get more people vaccinated. Around the world, these kind of techniques have been used. In India, they provided incentives for people to get their kids vaccinated, and the vaccination rates went up 600%.
I think it's how you frame the issue and how you ask the question. And I'm reminded of Cass Sunstein, who wrote a book called Nudge. And I think it was in the context of organ donation and how you ask people whether they'll be a donor versus is it good for society? And what I mean, Congressman, is this. If you ask people the question of, should we pay those who will get a vaccine, my hunch is many will say no. But if you switch it and instead you say, should any stimulus monies be paid to people who refuse to get vaccinated, I think it would be a hell no.
Right. Well, yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, and I think you're right. How this is framed, how this is structured matters. And we have to remember, at its core, this is a stimulus program. And I think most would agree that we should have done another relief bill by now. One of the most popular parts of the last stimulus program was the direct cash payments. So again, this is really direct cash payments that is tied to people doing something that all the experts agree they should do, which is to get vaccinated. And it will save lives. And that's the most important. If we get to 75% vaccination rate 3 months sooner, at the rate we're going, that could be 90,000 lives that are saved. That's why this is so important.
I paid attention to the comments that were appended to the essay that you wrote in the Washington Post, and one was the idea that this puts undue pressure on people of less economic means. In other words, that there are people among us in all levels of income who, for whatever reason, don't want to get vaccinated. But now, when all of a sudden we're saying we're going to pay you to get the vaccination, it brings pressure to bear that otherwise wouldn't exist on those who are least economically so among us.
But those who are least economically so among us have suffered disproportionately under this pandemic. So many of those people are not sitting at home and Zooming into work. They're actually getting on public transportation, going to grocery stores, and making sure the essential things that we all need are available. They're the people who will benefit the most from getting the vaccination rate up. People who are sitting at home, Zooming, being very careful about what they do and having the luxury not to put themselves in a position where they're at risk, they could continue to do this for months and months and months. But so many of our frontline essential workers, et cetera, they really need us to get the vaccination rate up as soon as possible. So what I would say is, listen, we have to embrace the science. The science is clear, whether it's Dr. Fauci or all the other leading kind of academicians, scientists within government, the cadre of physicians and scientists who are reviewing these vaccines carefully. They all agree that these vaccines will be safe and people should get them. And so I don't see anything wrong with creating an incentive for people to do what all the experts believe they should do anyhow. And the people who will benefit the most are the people most vulnerable in our society.
Okay, guys, y'all know me. I have the transcript pulled up or I'm typing it out. This one's a transcript, so hopefully I won't trip over my words as much. I literally was saying trip over my words as much and I tripped over them. But I can't trust anything from this mouth and brain today. I think it's because I'm too cold. So let's go ahead and listen. So the interviewer says, the virus has caused 2 crises in America at once. The health one and the economic one. My next guest has offered up a solution to connect and perhaps solve both. In an essay in the Washington Post, former Maryland Congressman John Delaney, who ran for president in this cycle, writes, pay Americans to take a virus vaccine. He joins me now. Okay, Congressman, make the case. He says, so the case is very straightforward, Michael. The most important thing for us to do at this moment in time is to get 75% of the American people vaccinated with the 3 and soon to probably be 4 or 5 vaccines that will be available starting, end of the year, early next year. Remember when everybody laughed when President Trump said they could be available that early? But I think he also said the fall too, which that was unrealistic. It's weird. The media loves to lie about Trump, but then Trump also says stupid stuff and makes himself a target sometimes. And right now, only about 58% of American people say they will take the vaccines. What I think they need to do is to create an incentive to get that number up to 75% as quickly as possible. They need to have exemptions so people can get that money if they medically can't get this vaccine like me. That will save lives. That will get the economy back on track sooner. And the way to do that is to tie in a stimulus plan where we give the American people $1,500, which they should have had already. Amen. If we had done a relief bill and if they take the vaccine. So it's a very straightforward approach. Like, I like the logic of it. I worry about how this can be implemented and the long-term effects. So somebody says, some will say, why reward the irresponsible among us? He says, that's kind of the ideological response. And this is a practical solution, right? Again, yeah, I think this is a straightforward practical solution, but I don't know how viable it is. The pandemic, the tragedy of this pandemic, 250,000 people, more than 250,000 Americans have lost their lives, over 1,000 a day. They estimate that half of the small businesses in this country won't up again or reopen. Yes, most of the time, once we lose these businesses, they're gone, guys. There aren't programs or situations where we can really get them back. It doesn't really work that way. So let's keep going. So it says, the depths of this tragedy are extraordinary. So what we need is practical solutions to get this behind us and end the pandemic, and the vaccines will do that. But the existence of vaccines actually doesn't do it. What does it is people actually being vaccinated, and this solution is designed to get more people vaccinated. Around the world, these kinds of techniques have been used. In India, they provided incentives for people to get their kids vaccinated, and the vaccination rates went up about 600%. Right, but it's also not, I don't know, can you really call it incentive when you're giving money to people who are starving and not allowing them to really make money? I don't know, that seems more forced or coerced. And then the interviewer says, I think it's how you frame the issue and how you ask the question. I'm reminded of Cass Sunstein, who wrote in the book Nudged. And I think it was in the context of organ donation, how you ask people whether they will be a donor versus is it good for society. Interesting. Says, and what I mean, Congressman, is this. If you ask people the question of, should we pay those to get a vaccine? My hunch is many people will say no. But if you switch it and instead you say, should any stimulus monies be paid to people who refuse to get vaccinated? I think it would be an HELL no. Delaney says, right, well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think you're right. How this is framed, how it's structured matters. And we have to remember, at its core, this is a stimulus program. And I think most would agree that we should have done another relief bill by now. One of the more popular parts of the last stimulus program was the direct cash payment. So again, this is really direct cash payment. It is tied to people doing something that all of the experts agree they should do, which is get vaccinated. And it will save lives. And what's most important, if we get 75% vaccination rate 3 months sooner, at the rate we're going, this could save 90,000 lives. That's why it's so important. I don't know, guys. I get really tired of this selective empathy. We have so many people die every year from so many different things, way worse than this. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's just interesting how they cherry pick what's important. So then we have the interviewer say, I paid attention to the comments that were appended to the essay that you wrote in the Washington Post. And one was the idea that this puts undue pressure on people of less economic means. Bingo! In other words, that there are people among us in all levels of income who, for whatever reason, don't want to get vaccinated. But for now, when all of a sudden we're saying we're going to pay them to get vaccinated, it brings huge pressure to bear the otherwise wouldn't exist on those economically so among us. And guys, the people who are most economically hurt, you have to imagine, don't have the best health because they can't afford access to good health or good food or medication. And Delaney says, but those who are least economically so among us have suffered disproportionately under the pandemic. So many of those people are not sitting at home and Zooming into work. They're actually getting On public transportation, going to the grocery store and making sure the essentials that they need are there and available. They're the people who will benefit the most from getting the vaccine rate up, unless we've desecrated their immune systems by feeding them horrible crap food. That's the only kind of food they can afford. Them, their families, their children, filling our waters full of heavy metals. Hey, Flint, hey. I don't trust those guys. People who are sitting at home, Zooming, being very careful about what they do and having that luxury not to put themselves in a position where they are at risk. You know, same people who can afford access to healthcare and good food. They could continue to do this for months and months and months, but so many of our frontline essential workers, etc., they really need us to get the vaccination rate up as soon as possible. So what I would say is, listen, we have to embrace the science. The science, well, he says the science is clear. Well, it's not clear. A lot of back and forth going on in the scientific community about all of this, including we don't have the long-term effects. The science isn't clear. He says whether it's Dr. Fauci or all other leading kinds of what is this word? Academicians? Has anybody, wait, academicians. That word? Can y'all do some Googling? What is that? I've never heard of an academician. Scientists with government. The cadre of physicians and scientists who are reviewing these vaccines carefully. They all agree that these vaccines will be safe and people should get them. And I don't see any wrong with creating an incentive for people to do what all the experts believe they should do anyhow. And the people who will benefit the most, the people most vulnerable in our society. And then that's where they cut off. So, what do I think about this? I think you should give people $2,000 or $3,000 a month to live off stimulus, period. I have a lot of ethical issues with this. Like I said, this disproportionately, I feel like disadvantages and discriminates against the chronically ill unless they have a way around that. I also worry about the long-term effects. I get frustrated when we keep hearing the science is sound, even though the numbers aren't adding up. I don't know. Overall, I guess I just don't feel good in my soul about it. Like, I have a gut feeling that something feels off. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying not to get or to get it. You do whatever is right for you. It would never be my place because I don't know what your health issues are. I don't know what your life is. But I'm just worried that once again, even though this is supposed to help the downtrodden, it's just really something that will end up hurting more people. Why do I think that? Because our government tends to do that quite often in secret and hiding. We find out years later after it's too late to fix it or after the fact. So I'm naturally concerned, and I think it's okay to be concerned. Here's the other thing that bothers me. I'm somebody that fully believes the cures for most ailments and issues we have are there and they're available. I believe that full-heartedly, not with everything obviously, but with most things that we suffer from. I believe that we are not allowed the access to that stuff. So on a personal note for me, this type of debate makes me very, very angry that I feel like you're kind of doing a Sophie's Choice with people on their health when it doesn't have to be this way. I just wish we had a government that didn't see our health and who we are and our labor as for profit. And they wouldn't be trying to profit off of our health and our lives in the way that they are. But unfortunately, at the moment, this is the way the system is set up. I just wish we had access to these things because I believe if we were to have access to the real technology that's available to fix people, then we wouldn't need some of these things where we have to question, is this going to make me worse? What are the long-term effects? You know, if you look at people like Nikola Tesla, if you look back at certain individuals in history, I don't want to go too far into this, but there are people who did some real awesome technological and medical breakthroughs, and then their work was stolen, disappeared, the people were trashed. Even some of them had to leave the planet in very nefarious ways. I don't want to go too far into this. I'm just saying this makes me sad when I hear this because we shouldn't have to incentivize people to do something that could end up being difficult or backfiring for them because things are too new. There are better ways to do this stuff, in my opinion. We just don't get access to it. And I hope one day as a society, we start demanding those things. I hope that the year 2020 is one of those breakpoint years where this is a year where we realize we have to focus more on the health of our nation. And as a result of focusing on the health of our nation, we will start demanding more information on technologies that should exist, maybe that do exist that we don't have access to. Again, I don't want to say too much, And honestly, do I have any proof for what I'm saying? If you look back at history and some of the things I'm talking about, maybe I'll do some videos about this one day. You can look back and see some really interesting things. I don't have direct proof. This is just something that I fully believe that's there. So when I hear stuff about how a virus is running rampant and doing all these things, it just makes me mad because I'm like, you know what? This probably doesn't have to be an issue. But that's where I'm at. As I told you guys, I'm an optimistic, idealistic realist. I know the reality of where we're at in the society we're in, but I also see the paths forward and the paths that we can take. And I feel like with all the brilliant, intelligent minds we have on this planet, it does not make sense to me, well, we don't have the cures for things, which makes me think maybe we do, we just don't get access because they can't profit off of us if we're healthy. Think about it. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything y'all have to say. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you think could possibly benefit this. People who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, and everything in between. I got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you during this very difficult time. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, share the content, the more my channel grows, the more things I can do to give back to you guys, like our $100 gift card giveaways, which we are doing today. Make sure and watch the videos. So simple, this is all you have to do. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom, you're entered, you're eligible, that's all you have to do. The more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win. So if you leave 100 comments, 100 times more chance you have to win. Yay, good luck to everybody. Also find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight, like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner, will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. We're helping people in a more one-on-one based stimulus effort there for your issues or your area. It's free. Nobody's selling anything. We're just all trying to help each other because the government isn't. So that's it. Everybody's in there just helping each other. So I also want to end this, guys, and I want to say, please understand, I'm not trying to take a side in this, and I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or not do with their health. That is not my goal with this video. It is not for me to make that decision. It is up to every individual person to do their own due diligence, their research, weigh information. What I wanted to say, and I want to clarify that I want to clarify what I was trying to say at the very end, is that I just believe that the cures for most of our issues are out there, and I am disappointed in our society that I believe we're not allowed access to be able to get what we need. That's it. That's all I'm trying to say. So I really hope you don't think that there's some, secret hidden message or that I'm trying to say something else or I'm trying to tell you what you should do or not do. That's not the case. I just wish we had healthier alternatives and we could trust the people at the top when they say something is for our best interest. I wish we could trust it. That's all. That's all where I'm at. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the video here for now. I am praying for every single one of you. I'm praying for your families. I'm praying for your health. And I'm going to do everything I can. As you guys know, I am dedicating myself to doing everything I can to help you guys through this difficult situation and find resources for all of you. I appreciate you all so much. I'm sending you all so much love, prayers, hugs, mwah, and kisses until the next video. Bye, guys.